Hello everyone and welcome to a new tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to do a jigsaw lino print. A jigsaw is just like what it sounds. It's where you cut your piece of lino into lots of pieces, ink up each section a different colour and then join them all together again and then print it. So it's a really nice way of printing more than one colour in one go. Some of the tricky bits can be actually cutting your lino. So I'm going to show you how to cut the lino using traditional lino as well as the alternatives, and give you a few tips of what to do. So keep watching. So I've got my lino. So I've got my traditional lino, and I've got two alternatives. Now a lot of people will say that this method can only be used using the alternatives because they're a lot easier to cut into shapes. But I would say you can use traditional lino as well. You just need to take a little bit more care, take a bit more time and be a bit more patient. And regardless of what type of lino you use, it's really important that you've got a good cutting mat underneath you and you use a really sharp knife, and you probably need to keep changing the blades quite often. So I'm going to start with the alternative. So I've got some easy carve, which is this creamy colour, and some Japanese vinyl, which is blue on one side and green on the other. And I've drawn out my design, and I've already carved my line. You will find it's a lot easier to cut through a carved line. So starting with the soft cut, I'm going to take my knife and I'm just going to take my time going into the carved areas that I've done. You see, it comes apart. And with all of these, you just need to take your time and don't rush. You probably need to go over the cut mark a few times. So there you go, you got two parts which can be inked up and slotted together again. So I'm going to do the same with the rest of this and with the Japanese vinyl as well. A little tip, if you don't have a Stanley knife, just use the knife that comes with your tool if you bought a set. Again, you need to make sure it's sharp, so if it's not, then sharpen it. And then just go through the lines. And again, just take your time with it. And you see, it does cut nicely. Using traditional lino can be a little bit more tricky, but the key is have your lino warm that will really help cutting. Whether you're using a Stanley knife or the knife tool, just make sure they're really sharp. And again, cut through the carved line that you've created and take your time. That is so important. And it will take a bit more effort with the traditional lino, but it is possible to do a jigsaw with traditional lino. So, because traditional lino has got the fabric backing on it, you might find some of it is preventing it from cutting all the way through. So I'm just turning it over, and with a knife I'm just going to gently slice through the fabric just to release it, because it's only the fabric that's holding it in place. So at this point I can neaten up with your chosen knife any of the fabric that's showing. So there you go. You can use traditional lino for the jigsaw. It just takes a little bit more time, a bit more patience, and sharp tools. So I'm going to carry on cutting out all my lino into shapes, and then I will print it. So I've cut all the pieces out, and the one I found the most difficult to cut was actually the Japanese vinyl. I found it really tough. I ended up using the knife tool from my lino cutting tools. The easiest was actually the easy carve. And actually I found with the traditional lino, if you keep it warm, it was actually pretty easy to cut into shapes. So, like I said earlier, there's no reason why you can't use traditional lino for this technique. So, now that I've got all my bits of lino cut into bits, I'm going to ink them up and print them. So I've inked up each bit in a separate colour. Now at this point I can just join them all back together, like so. Or you can just play around with it and decide, well, actually I don't want that bit in there, so I'm going to take that out completely and print it like that. Or turn some of the sections around, or leave more of a gap in between some of the pieces. So it's totally up to you. You can have a bit of fun with this method. So I'm just going to join it all back together. So I'm going to print one like this and one where I just have a bit more of a play with it. And I'm going to print on this Japanese paper. And then you just print it how you normally would. And there you go. That's what your print will look like. So I'm going to ink them up again and separate some of the pieces and show you the result. So this time I'm having a bit of a play, and I swapped some of the pieces around, and I'm going to print it like this. My paper is not long enough really, so I've just putting that down by high and then to print. So there you go, 2 different ways of printing. So the same bits of lino, just printed in a different way. So have a go at this technique and let me know how you get on in the comments.